Hello guys, welcome again to Storytime with Ms Olu. How have you been? I hope you've been good. Remember, I promised I'm going to continue reading this book, Bad Dad, written by David Williams. So today I'm going to start with chapter 2. Chapter 2, Out of Control. The night of the accident. The night of the accident, there seems to be something badly wrong with that car from the start. Instead of the Mini's distinctive roar, today the engine was making a loud grinding noise as it was about to explode. As soon as Dad threw Quinn into gear on the start line, the car launched forward in stops and started like a buckling bull. That fateful night, Frank was sitting on the top of the pile of the cars just outside the stadium, as he always did. It was in the depth of the winter, and wind and rain swirled around him. Despite being soaked to the skin, the boy never wanted to miss a race. Something was wrong that night. Very wrong. As soon as the flag waved to start the race, Dad struggled to control his own car. To 9, there was no roar from the Mini's engine, rather than grinding noise. A deadly hush descended on the crowd. Frank felt sick to his stomach. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion from Quinn's exhaust pipe. Bang! Dad! Shouted the boy. From all that distance, the man couldn't hear his sons, especially over the thunder of all the other cars' engine. Frank desperately wanted to help, to do something, anything, but he was powerless to stop what was about to happen. The Mini sped up dramatically and then wouldn't slow down. It was out of control. Oh dear. The heart of racing motor vehicles is knowing when to go fast and when to slow down. Immediately, Dad was taking the corners far too quickly. This wasn't what a champion banker racer did. Frank's heart was thumping in his chest. Queenie's brake must have gone. But how? Dad would always check and recheck his car before every race. Suddenly, Queenie swerved sharply to avoid a head-on collision with a Ford Capri. But the Mini was going far too fast, and as it turned, it rolled over and over and over. Boom! That car was now upside down in the middle of the track. The Jaguar behind smashed into the Mini, sending the car flying through the air. It crashed to the ground again. Boom! Smashing into pieces. No, Dad! No! Shouted Frank from the top of the towers of the cars. Down on the track, there was a mighty pileup as the car couldn't stop in time. Smash! Bang! Crash! There was the sound of a metal crushing into metal and glass smashing. Kaboom! One of the cars exploded into a fireball. No! Shouted Frank. The boy raced down the towers of car and ran through the crowd to his dad's car. An air ambulance hovered over before landing on the track. Frank held his son's hand through the wreckage as the fireman tried to cut him out of the car. "What are you doing here, mate?" whispered Dad. "You should be at home, in bed." "I'm sorry, Dad," replied Frank. "I'm going to need the biggest huggle when I'm out of this. Everything's going to be all right, Dad. I promise." But it was a promise the boy couldn't keep. Chapter 3, Crushing the Crack. Frank held his father's hand as the ambulance raced to the hospital. The man's right leg had been completely crushed in the crash, and he was losing lots of blood. Mr. Goody began the doctor as soon as Dad had been rushed into the accident and emergency department at the hospital. I have some very bad news. We have to amputate your leg. Which one? Replied Dad, not losing his sense of humor at this dark time. The right one, of course. If we didn't operate straight away, there's a very real chance you will die. I don't want to die, Dad. I don't want you to die, Dad, said Frank. It's all right, mate. I'm good at hopping. As Dad was immediately taken down to the operating theater, Frank tried to call his mother, but the line was engaged for hours. Guess what Mom was doing? Of course, she was on the phone with other person. The operation took all night. Frank paced up and down the waiting room, unable to sleep. When his father came to from the anesthetic in the morning, his son was the first person he saw when he opened his eyes. Mate, you're the best, whispered Dad. It was clear he was in a lot of pain. I am so pleased you made it, Dad, replied Frank. Of course I didn't want to miss seeing you grow up. Where's your mother? I don't know, Dad. I called last night, but I couldn't get through. She will come. It was a couple of hours until she did. Oh, Gilbert, she said upon seeing him, and burst into tears. The family reunion was brief though, and she didn't stay that long. Gilbert was in the hospital for a month, but his wife visits to his bedside became less and less frequent and shorter and shorter. However, the nurses set up a little camp bed for Frank, and the boy slept with his dad side every single night. Good boy. One day, the doctors came in with a wooden leg for Gilbert. It fitted him perfectly. Within days, he learned to walk again, and he insisted on walking all the way back to their block of flats from the hospital. I can still do everything, said Dad proudly. He walked with a limp, and Frank held his hand the whole way. But they got home eventually. When they arrived back at the flat, Mom's wasn't there. She had left a note on the kitchen table. It read, to Frank and Gilbert, I'm sorry, Rita. Can you believe that? Look at the note she wrote. Can you read it? Okay, that will be the end of today's reading, guys. I will be reading chapter 4. I will be starting from chapter 4 from the next video, okay? So see you then. Bye.